Are recording. All right, so let's screen share again, and we'll go to SAR Topo. And so we're on the same map that we messed with last week. This is the general vicinity right here of Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore up in northern Michigan. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do some importing. Now, when we import, most of the time there's just a couple of file formats you're going to import. One is the GPX, and that is one of the most common file formats coming out of a Garmin GPS. It's a great file format. It's got a lot of data in it. You can export GPX from GPS. You can also export from different apps on a phone. The Gaia program, Backcountry Navigator, just to name two. There are several others that can export that GPX file format. I kind of compare it to a PDF file. Just about any device that you can use to read data will open a PDF file. GPX is kind of the same way. It's almost a universal file format for transferring geospatial data. So we're going to go up here. We're in the upper left corner under map objects. I'm going to hit import, and we're going to get a pop-up. And it's going to say, dude, what do you want to open? Choose file, pretty self-explanatory. So let me see. I'm going to dig into my data drive here, into my GPS or GIS stuff. And we're going to go up to Sleeping Bear Dunes. And somewhere on here, I'm sure I've got some sort of data that we can take a look at somewhere. Oh, oh, dang it. Spent a lot of time messing around earlier with a couple other things, but I didn't really get into the import because, well, it's easy. So let me find a good piece of data for us here. Let's go SAR. Let's go, here we go. This will be a good one. So this should bring us back down to my neck of the woods. So that you navigate to, click to open. It should bring us back down to Northwest Indiana, some data. So I'll just go ahead and zoom down there. Let's see. I have got nothing opening. Do your maps need to be saved a certain way or to a specific file? Yeah, so the stuff that we're opening or importing really needs to be either the GPX file format, KML, or KMZ. And those KML and KMZ, those are the ones that come, they're kind of a Google file format. That's what they're most affiliated with. All right, so you can see we have a pop-up on the screen now, and it says import data. So the file that I asked it to import, it's not just one or two tracks, it's a whole crap ton of tracks, all right? When you import, and this happens all the time, especially if people are not super familiar with their GPS, they might have a lot of stuff on there. And instead of accidentally importing all the stuff off a GPS or out of a GPX file, if it was saved wrong, SAR Topo says, hold on, let's make sure we only get the data we want. So this particular file that I opened has a whole, it's got probably about 300 different trails on it. So I'm going to go ahead and say, uncheck all of them. Now you see here we have the option to just check the ones we want. Some of them are shapes. I think if I scroll down further, some of these become more linear features. But one of the things that you notice is we've got three columns here. We have the name and we have on map. So if what I'm zoomed into in the map in the background, if this layer is on that, it will tell me it's on map. Now, as I go to the bottom of this list of hundreds, you'll see some here, it's 17 miles from this map. Well, I probably don't want that one. In the far right column, it also tells you how long this feature is or how big it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up here to the top, and I'm going to click on these trails right here because I just happen to know exactly where they are. All right. So I'm only getting the data that I actually want, and I'm going to hit import. Okay. And boom, right there in the middle, there's my trails. Okay. So very easy to import data. Now, one of the things that, depending on where your data comes from, and we talked about this a little bit last week, is, you know, when we go to add something, say I go to add let's do, well, pretty much anything. Add a marker. And, you know, there's label and there's the comments and there's all this data behind it. Remember, those are, we call those attributes, and that's the data behind the line or the polygon. Well, depending on where your original data that you're importing was made at, you might have a lot of extra stuff there. And when we look on the left-hand side right now, we can see, well, it looks like HTML code, and that's actually what it is. Because of my original source of this data, I've got a lot of extra stuff. That's fine. It's just kind of, it clogs up the map objects a little bit, but if we need to, we can clean that up later, right? The important part was to get those tracks or those polygons out of somebody's GPS and onto my map. And you see those with these black lines here. We can click on each one. There's all this other stuff. Like I said, it comes from the source that I got it from. All right. So I'm going to turn those off. You know, there's I think we talked about this a little bit last week. And it's how to edit a bunch of stuff in one of these folders all at once. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to actually delete all those, because, you know, I determined that those, they're just not very good. So I'm going to go to the bottom of that folder, and we have where it says bulk ops. Now, once you get multiple things in each folder, you'll have this bulk ops option for the folder. So I'm going to click on that. And there's all the things that were imported into that folder. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all of them. And I'm going to say, you know what? I really don't need those. Bye-bye. Like every good program should, it gives me the option. Are you really sure you want to do that? Yes, I am. Delete, and they're gone. Okay. So we're going to go zoom back up to Sleeping Bear. And I've got some information on here that I need to export. All right. I've got 3 markers, right? Now I want to put these in a search team's handheld GPS. What am I going to do? I'm going to export. So I go to the export button, hit that, and just like importing, it's going to say, are you sure this is what you want to export? And it is. Now what I'm going to do is I've got some different format options here. This is one of those places where you can do a whole bunch of different things. And we're going to, especially once we get to the homework map, I'm going to show you how a few of these others work. But for this purpose right now, we're going to go to GPX, and you can say, it even says in parentheses, handheld GPS. That's the file format. Anything from a Garmin, I think 62 series and newer, and even some of the current eTrex models, I forget what they're calling those, they all handle this GPX file format. If it's new in the last 5 years, it'll probably take this. So I'm going to click yes. Now you'll see one's on the map, the other one's on the map. I got one spot that's 217 miles from my map. Well, that's some sort of anomaly, right? I don't really need that. So I'll unclick it. I'll hit the export button now that I know what I've got. And it's going to say, hey, where do you want to put this? And I'm going to put it in my MLPI folder. Save it just like that. Good to go. Now, if I wanted to say email that, maybe we're planning a search for tomorrow and I want to get it out to my teams that are from out of the area, I can just go into my email. I'm going to find Jan's email in here, and I'm going to navigate to that file, and I can just attach it, plain as day. Let's see, where is it? There it is. And that file, you'll see, comes up as a GPX file. Now, I think I'm not sharing my email with you right now, but simple. Very simple. If you can attach a file to an email, you can email a GPX. All right. So that's import export, and that's about as easy as it gets. All right. What we're going to do now, in fact, I'm going to get out of my map. I'm going to stop sharing, in fact. Make sure we got everybody. Yep, there's nobody in the waiting room. So by show of hands, and you can use the little raise your hand feature if you want, who actually did the homework? Oh boy. All right, I got it. Okay, all right, cool. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Let's take a look. Now, I will wholly admit I did it in about 10 minutes, about 2 hours ago. Okay, I sat down and I looked at the scenario and I just knocked it out. So we had a scenario, right? So let's look at that. Let me reopen it. Unfortunately, like every good government computer, mine had to reboot about 10 minutes before we started tonight. So let me open up the scenario that I gave you. All right, I'll do a quick share on that and we can talk through that. There it is. Actually, let me do this. I'm gonna drag it over to the second screen and it'll make it a little bit easier. Let's share that whole screen over there as we bop through stuff. All righty, share screen 2. There we go. All right, so you should have that 201A, which is our kind of modified form. It's not a whole 4-page 201, but this, for my team, this is one of our first pieces of paperwork to get done, and it's intended as a briefing form and quick gather information from whoever gets on scene first. So let's take a look. We've got the incident name. It's the Manito Wish search, is in Camp Manito Wish. For those who did any Googling, it is a YMCA camp. It's beautiful, northern Wisconsin. So we do have a little bit of operational period time. This little bit of briefing covers from 8:15 tonight to 8 a.m. tomorrow, and we have a summary. Okay, quick and to the point. Tom, our subject, was upset from an incident that happened at dinner. Everyone laughed at him. After dinner and chores, his cabin group went to go for a walk, and he kind of disappeared, right? His buddy Billy said he saw him stop for a second at the dock by the leadership center, but then he was gone. So we can see from our briefing here, we have a dining hall set up at the Manito Wish Dining Hall. I gave you guys the lat long for that. Kudos to whoever realized I had the same lat long for that as I did for the place last seen. Responsible authority, we're up in sheriff country up there in northern Wisconsin. Here's the phone number into the ICP, which is a very common phone number. If you've seen it before. The responsible authority's phone number for the sheriff's department there, a couple of radio channels so we can communicate. And then here's the important info, right? Here's our subject, Tom Engberg. He's an 11-year-old male. He goes by Tommy. 4'11", 110 pounds. Green eyes, red hair. And Tommy has autism. Okay. He unfortunately has a history of running away, but he's also not from around Boulder Junction. He is not from the area. He's from Chicago. He's only been at camp for a few days. Oh boy. So what's Tommy wearing? Red camp t-shirt, blue cargo shorts, and his Nike basketball shoes, right? And somebody had to fill out the form. So if we have any questions, we can go find Mary Wood, and she filled it out at about 8:30. So about 15 minutes after getting on scene, she was able to get this sorted out, collected, and presented. All right, so that's that. So who would like to share their map first? Not me. I don't get to go first. Oh, come on. Jan's like, I'll do it. Your mute's on. Mute's still on. Uh-oh. Hey, that's the best way of getting out of having to share something. You can't talk to us. Okay.
I'll share, Mike, if you want me to.
Yeah, so what we'll have you do, Dean, is we're we're going to have you drop your map, the URL into it. Either you can screen share it or drop the URL into the chat, and then we can all look at it. So whichever one you would prefer, sir.
I'll open up SAR Topo first. Do you want me to screen share while I'm opening it up just so you can see me fumbling around here?
Yeah, hey, that'll work great.
Let's do that. See if I can screen share.
Let me make sure that I've got screen sharing so you can do it, because I don't remember if I turned that on for everybody. Is it letting you do it?
Do you see it?
I got nothing. I don't know if screen sharing is enabled for participants.
I hit screen share. Host disabled, participant screen sharing is what I got.
Oh, dang it. Hold on. Let me see if I can turn that on real quick. All participants. And then we click here and give it a shot again, and you should be all set.
All right, here I go.
There you go.
All right, so to share,
yep.
Here, let's log in. Log in. And then I'm gonna go into my data.
Yep.
Go into my map.
Yep.
And
cool.
Go into here, right?
Yep.
And then I'm gonna create a shareable linky link.
Yep.
And now, is this gonna be read only, or you gonna wanna go in there? You know, I want you to show me how to delete some of these lines, so.
Okay.
I'm gonna put update.
So use write, because update lets you add, but not take away from. Write lets you do both.
Okay. So I'm gonna give write privileges.
Yep.
I'm gonna hit OK.
There you go. And just grab that URL and drop it into the chat.
Let's see. Copy link address. Let's trying to get to the chat. How do I get to the chat?
See, move your mouse around down to the bottom of your screen, and you should get the.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. I found it. I see participants. Where's the chat?
Should be right next to participants.
It's not. Screen share is next to participants.
Go to more on the far right.
More. Let's try more. More.
You know what? Just drop it in an email to me. That's fine too.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna email it to you.
Okay, easy. Yeah, sometimes, and I've noticed there's been a lot of updates to Zoom lately, and the little option bar when you're screen sharing is doing different things than it used to do, and it likes to disappear. So, such as
what's your email address? It's not populating for me here.
MBELL at Porter County.
There it is. There it is. It came up. It came up.
Good deal. And this is exactly how you can share this. Say you got somebody working remote with you. You know, you got somebody who's really good with whatever. Maybe they're really good with LPB and you want them to take a look at what you got, or you're like, you know what, maybe my search segments are kind of wonky. Can you help me build these up? This is exactly how you go about sending them that link. Boom, I got it.
All right, I sent it to you.
And I'm in. Look at that. All right, so you're driving the bus. So show us what you did.
So I had the problem that I had a lot of time on my hands, and it wasn't like there was some guy in crisis that we're trying to find this kid. So I made 15.
All right. Well, let's start at the beginning.
Searches. Okay.
So what's one of the first things we got to throw down?
The point last seen.
There you go. So show us where your PLS is. And if you want, you can on the left there where it says assignments, you can actually click that checkbox. It'll just hide those.
And clean it up. Okay.
Which cleans it up. And that's a great tool when you're doing briefings and stuff on here. All right, so there's the PLS. Awesome. Oh, you actually found the actual dock. Nice.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So I zoomed in really close and I kind of centered it right on the dock.
Perfect.
And then the next thing you wanted was ICS, right? Instant
Yep,
command.
the command post. Yep. Got to put it
So-
somewhere.
Yeah, and I put that, that's up here.
Yep.
So I put that over there on that building.
Cool, cool.
And I put the leadership thing here
Yep.
because that's where they were on their way to this leadership building.
Yep. Yep. They're right by there. Awesome. Looks
what
like you got a
else?
couple other markers on there too. You marked Owls Lane Center.
Yeah,
North
it was kind of when later I wanted to put a search segment in just this immediate area.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know how to tell them, it crosses these trails. I didn't know that the name of the trail wasn't on the map. So
Okay.
I just put Owls Lane Center next to this trail
Okay.
so that they would know what trail that is.
You need a marker, make a marker, make a reference
Right.
point, right? So,
Right.
So let's look at your lost person behavior stuff. So you
My
got
lost-
some, yeah, your range rings.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So question for the group, what profile are we using? Because really there's potential for two different ones, right?
I think autism over, at least the app told me autism overrode like the child's age or anything else.
Yeah, so
primarily.
that was very intentional on my part. It's a YMCA camp. We got kids, and he's 11, which falls in LPP, falls right into the 10 to 12 preteen group. And when we look at that, we have, of course, when it's one of the things we have to figure out when we're doing the lost person behavior. Is this mountainous or flat? Is it temperate, dry, or urban? It's the Midwest. 95% of everything is flat and temperate, right? Unless we're in a city itself. So flat and temperate in putting things in miles, because that's just how I work. The age 10 to 12, the preteen is 0.2 miles, 1 mile, and 3 miles to the 25, 50, and 75. Well, how do we compare that to the autism? Well, 0.4 miles, 1 mile, and 2.3. So in reality, the 25 and 50% range rings on those are pretty close, right? And recognizing that we got to select one over the other, autism is the way to go because it's a little bit further out, and that's going to drive things more than age. All right. So looks like you did the same thing I did. So you've got 0.4 miles, 1 mile, and 2.3, right?
Right.
Cool, man. Good deal. And you got some symbology going there to tell that it's not just a circle. Awesome. I dig it. I dig it. So let's zoom in. Let's take a look. Well, first of all, does this look like, so far, does this look like everybody else's?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's only so many things you can throw on right away. It's where when we start figuring out where we're going to search and making segments that it can start to I won't say devolve, but where our maps will start to diverge, right? So cool. So let's take a look at what you got in there right away. I think I see that you did some things similar to what I did. So why don't we turn your search segments on and start taking a look a little bit. Boom. So out of everything you've got here, where's the first place you want to send people?
First place I sent people was, let's see, what was this? No, I just started doing all my trails.
Okay.
I started doing all my linear routes to and from the last point last seen.
Okay.
First place probably would be the structure where they were headed.
Yeah.
You know, I put a search segment. I wasn't sure how to do the SAR, so I just drew a segment around the structures that
Sure.
were right there. So
Sure.
that's, I mean, that's the first one I would hand out for the hasty search.
Awesome. Cool. Pretty cool. Looks like you've got some buffered ones. Like I'm looking
Yeah, I
at,
did a buffer on the water, just thinking, you know,
Yep.
I don't want them looking just at the water. You know, they should
Right.
probably look along the you know, the shoreline also.
yep, I did very similar. And that's a great use of that buffer tool. Because when you assign a buffer segment in SAR Topo, it centers along wherever you're clicking and then gives you space either side of it. So it's perfect for doing something where you want people to look left and right along a trail. You can do a buffer along a trail, or you can just do a straight up linear along a trail. So it'd be good for roads. Or you've got like, you know, maybe it's an evidence search and you're like, you know, so-and-so tossed a pistol. He was riding a dirt bike along this road and he tossed the pistol. So you've got, you know, from the center of the road, how far can he toss it? You got to search either side. So that's great for a buffer because that buffer will give you area, not just distance. So in this case, I'm looking like I've got 306 clicked on your map, and that's 6 acres, you know. It's got some length to it, but that's pretty cool. I dig
But
it.
they've got ATVs, Micah.
Yep.
see
Oh,
that?
of course, because it's Wisconsin and everybody's got a quad.
Yeah, so
Oh, it looks like we got somebody else coming into the class. We got one more person that just entered. Welcome, welcome. We're taking on for whoever that was. I didn't catch the name before I clicked admit. We are looking at some of the homework. So that's cool. I dig it. Who else would like to share? Not everybody go once. Come on. Who's up? Jan, you do it? It's like Jan's like, I got it. All right. So same thing. I can't hear you though.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, so let me try to split my screens here so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I need to share my screen with you guys, right?
Yep. And just do a screen share is fine. What we
Okay.
just did there a minute ago with Dean was literally share the map with a link, which is something you guys will end up doing during the class. And when I show you my solution to this, I'll do that as well. Then I'll have you guys add to it maybe, and we'll see what it looks like.
Can you
all right,
see
there we
that?
go. Yeah,
Well,
you're good.
should I make
I
it-
see a map.
Okay, so I've got this on a split screen here, but let me see if I
Okay.
can. Well, anyway, I did pretty much the same thing that you all just talked about. And I also did Hasties on the trails. And because you said that he was a runner, I thought, okay, we're going to get ATVs hitting these roads right away on that exit out of camp. So that if he
Awesome.
was trying to get somewhere, he might have known where the main roads were.
Yep.
I
what is that
also,
called? When we put that into SAR management terms, what is that called?
what is what called?
When
That
when we start on the outside and we kind of starts with a C, ends with
containment.
there we go, containment.
Okay.
Cool.
So the other things I did on mine was I figured I had unlimited resources. So I had firefighters on ATVs. I had firefighters for structure searches.
Okay.
Since they tend to like structures. I brought in a trailing canine to the, I actually put last known point, but that should have been point last seen. Because those are two different
somebody
things.
eyeballed him because his
Those are two different
friend
things.
said, I saw him standing there and then he disappeared from us. So yeah.
Right. And then I ended up bringing in area search canines running back to the west because I thought maybe he went back to the dining hall because he forgot something.
Sure.
And then I figured with the trailing dog that might give us a lead as to what direction of travel he went.
Yep.
And then after we would get those done, I would probably go ahead and start have people searching along the shorelines and
Yeah.
just continually adding.
That's it, continually adding. And that's where sharing the editable link with another person is awesome. We did this on a search, would have been summer of 2020, June, first week of June. It was a despondent female who'd made suicidal ideations. Just happened to be, she was the wife of a police officer. So by the time we got on scene, every police department in the county was represented there before we got on scene. So we set up 2 computers, and while I was running current stuff, one of my other guys who's really familiar, he was building out search segments. And we were working on the same map at the same time. And it works great for that, because you've always got to continue to build, because we've got a plan. Okay, yeah, we hope to find them in the next 5 minutes, but what if we don't find them in the next couple hours? We got to keep building out for the next operational period.
And the one thing that I kind of thought about too was I actually had my command center up where Dean, I think that's where you had yours, up by the dining hall.
Yep.
But then I started thinking I'm going to need tables, chairs, media. So I moved it back down to the training center.
Okay.
Because I figured the training center would probably have more for me in command that I would need as far as televisions,
Sure,
monitors, things like that. I put my staging site up by the dining hall just for comfort for our people waiting. So they had food, bathrooms, and
perfect.
shelter.
That's an important thing. Can't forget the bathrooms and the coffee.
I'm trying to think here if there was anything else. I think that was pretty much it. I did my range rings.
Yeah.
I did them quite a ways, but I just added all.
Yep, you did all of them.
And,
Yep. Awesome.
yeah. So that's kind of where I was too. Pretty much the same.
Now, one thing that I didn't give you, and nobody asked for, was what time did he actually go missing? And what time did we start searching? Because that's our theoretical, right? How far could Tommy actually have gotten before we started looking for him? So now it's kind of intentional as well, because I was just curious if anybody was going to ask, or if you're just going to use the times that were on the form. So because depending on scenario, it might be way out there, depending on how long he was missing before anybody actually called 911. And based on my experience with camps and knowing this one, they're probably going to screw around with it for a while before they call for help. I know here at the national park where I work, our lifeguards are terrible about that. They'll get a missing kid and they'll screw around for half hour, 40 minutes before anybody calls for help, which is a real pain in the butt. And
that's pretty much on every.
Exactly. And this is a large property. In fact, all of the 25% range ring and beyond a little bit is on camp property. And it's got some good trails. If you looked at that PDF of the trail maps that I sent, there's a lot of stuff there, right? So there's a lot of trails to search. There's a lot of areas that only the staff know. So I can see where
I wondered about vehicles too. Did they have
Yep.
boats? Did they have, any kind of bikes?
there's a
Did they have,
stack of kayaks right next to the training center.
yeah.
Dozens of them. So yeah, that's stuff to think about, right? And that's, one of the tenets of search management is the investigation never continues. You've always got to be asking more questions or prodding the law enforcement guys to ask more questions. And that's, hey, are there any kayaks missing? Are there any bikes missing if they have bike racks there? Did anybody go back and check his cabin? All that stuff. So that's awesome. That was cool. Good map. All right. Anybody else?
Micah, I was just going to say, I got my SAR topo problem fixed. So I came home today and started working on the map.
Awesome.
So I got
Okay,
a
cool.
little bit done. It was fun playing with, but I had it in my head. The meeting started at 6:30. I apologize for being late,
No worries. That's fine.
but I got some map stuff done. So
Okay, cool. Well, do you want to share what you got?
Oh, it's very basic. It's
That's
very
okay.
basic, but sure, I can at least show you what I started doing.
I'm good with that.
It was really kind of fun just throwing in all those different layers.
Yep.
So I got my search rings put in. I thought, oh my gosh, this is a really big potential
Yep.
area.
Yeah,
but
potential.
lots-
That's it.
Lots of lakes. And so I started putting in my hasty areas. So I was thinking of, hitting all the roads, hitting any of the buildings nearby. Because a lot of times autistic kids are found in structures.
Ah,
And
lost person behavior statistics,
yeah.
right? Let's see, what is
I
that?
pulled
No.
out the book.
I opened the app because my book is in my truck. It's probably frozen. Yeah, the majority of autistic children, and also interestingly, youth in the 10 to 12-year-old category, the number one place they're found is structures.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
And what does a camp have a lot of? Especially this one, structures.
Yes. And so it was nice kind of getting some practice of putting in the headings or the location markers and
Yep.
finding it on the map. And I marked the point last seen. I saw the little boat dock in the satellite picture, so I figured that was the boat dock.
Yep.
So I thought I would put my IC probably in this building, which was the Leadership Lodge,
Okay.
although maybe that one has more facilities. So I put all the buildings, surrounding buildings in red. That would be part of my hasty search, as well as the roads.
Awesome.
And right before class, I was in the process of looking for any kind of drainage and stuff, which a little hard to see, but I did spot this kind of weird area on both the camp map that you gave us and in the satellite. It almost looks like it's kind of swampy
Yes.
or kind of marshy. So
There are
there-
several smaller marshy areas, and then there's a very
Okay.
large marshy area there as well.
okay. And
and
that almost
they
looked
do
like
have-
a pond right there.
Yep. And they do have trails, and that's a boardwalk through the middle of that one.
Okay, that's what that is. I was wondering
Yep.
what that is. And so anyway, but I was just having fun putting in all those different layers. It was really
Awesome.
cool.
Good deal. Good deal. I dig it. All right. Well, let me, unless somebody else wants to, unless there's any other volunteers, I'll throw mine up and we can take a look, and then we'll start playing with it a little bit. Sound good? Anybody else want to show? I don't want to take away the opportunity for someone to show us a magnificent piece of art, because that's what these are. Okay, I'll go. All right, let me get to my right map here real quick, and then I will screen share with you. If you happen to hear a lot of loud barking in the background, that is my canine menagerie. Sounds like Amazon is probably delivering next door. We have new neighbors, and they get a lot of Amazon, and my dogs bark at it all the time. All righty, so let me clean this up a little, and we'll go from there. So you guys, you got, helps if I hit the share button. There we go. So you got eyeballs on that map now. Let me drag it over. So I'm actually looking at the camera and the map. So go with the markers first. There's the PLS. I dropped it right out in front of that training center. Yes, technically there's a little dock over here that you guys noticed. All I remember from when I was there a year ago is if you walk right out the doors, you can get right to the water. I think there's a very short, like 4-board kind of little spot right there where you can look at the water. So PLS.
We're not seeing your map right now. We're seeing a photo of an autism page.
Well, oh, sorry, my bad. There we go. Now you got a map, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, my bad. So anyway, there's my PLS. All right, there's the training center. You see, I'm using the map builder hybrid mapping background, so it shows roads and stuff over top of a satellite image. That's kind of one of my favorite ones to use. The ICP at the dining hall, it's big. And then staging over here in a big giganto parking lot. Now, this is very deliberate One of the things in the NASAR SAR initial actions class that we teach, and I got a really awesome slide that shows it, is wherever the person's missing from, we try not to set up the command post right there, because it's kind of scary. Remember, we're dealing with 11-year-old with autism. We start parking a bunch of emergency vehicles right by the last place he was seen. It might be a little scary for him. The photo in the slide set shows a gigantic police department major crime scene unit truck parked right in front of the house, and while that looks awesome on TV, oh, the police are here doing something, when it comes to the behavior of our subject and how they might react to that, that could be a bad thing. So we try as much as possible to make sure when we do establish a command post, whether it's in our trailer, command post vehicle, or building, that it's away from the PLS. We'll usually leave a law enforcement officer there, maybe a fire chief or somebody in their vehicle, but we try to go down the road. Staging area, there's a big parking lot right there. And then let me throw up my lost person behavior data. See, I changed the names of the folders when I made them. So I have an LPB data folder. So there's those same range rings. And going back to the idea of one of the first things we want to do is containment, I have 3 roadblocks on here. There's really 3 ways to get into the main body of camp. This one down here on Highway K, this is the main entrance down here on the south side. And from there, you can see east and west along that main road, as well as up into the camp itself. On the west side, I have one here on the Camp Mulewish Highway or road, just outside the 25% range ring. And here again, you can see north and south. Another potential thing to do here would be to set somebody down here on this intersection, and they have clear sight lines north as well as east, so they can see really 2 sides of the big box. And then if I had enough bodies to have a third, and this one would probably go up being on the east side, probably before the one on the west side. I have a roadblock here on one of the roads that kind of winds its way into town. And you can see it's right out there, just about on the edge of that 25% range ring. And that's very intentional for me as well. All right. So we got our containment there, and staging. If at all possible, I would actually have responders come in from the west as well. Yes, it's important to be looking as you're entering the area, but kind of looking at the autism thing, and not knowing if he's drawn to or afraid of emergency vehicles. I'd have everybody come in on the west side and then into the staging area. John's got a question. Does this camp have a pre-plan? I don't know if they do have a pre-plan for this. This is actually where I do a lot of my wilderness EMS refreshers, and they do a lot of stuff on these lakes. They take kids up into Canada and Alaska and everywhere. I'm betting they have some sort of a pre-plan, and I think after this I might reach out and ask for a copy of it. That's a really good idea. I'll see if I can get it for class, because pre-plans is one of the things that we'll talk about in the MLPI class. I've been gathering a few others from some different places as well. So I'll see if I can reach out to the camp, the YMCA camp, and see if they have one. If not, maybe we can make one for them. So, so the next thing I like, and this is from my wildland background, and it's some ICS purism. I like having geographic divisions on the ground to assign things to. So what I did here is going out to the 50% range ring. I have division Alpha, Bravo. When I mess these up, the bottom one should be Charlie down here, and really it's Delta, and this is Charlie. And the concept there comes into the span of control stuff. So we look at division Alpha. Okay, everything's centered for the most part on the PLS, a little bit down here in the entrance. Alpha is the 12 to 3 o'clock, right? Bravo is conceivably the 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, but I brought it along these roads, and it includes town. Now, if we get to the point where we're actually out here searching this, there's the potential for a lot of people to be out there. All right. So we're talking to some span of control issues. If I have maybe 4 teams of each of 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 people out there searching, they need a level of supervision between them and the operations section of the command post. So I like to do divisions and put, hey, you're a division supervisor. You're in charge of all the stuff going on out here. And then the way I end up breaking it down once I actually get to the assignments is, to some degree, the assignments follow in the divisions. Now, it's not exact, but when I number or label the divisions, well, you'll see there's a letter and a number. That does a couple things. It makes it so I'm not getting up to, search segment 699. Or if you do letters, you don't necessarily run through the alphabet and then have to do AA, AB, AC. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta, I can number them and then number up from there. And then what that does is the Bravo division supervisor, Bravo 3 right here is all the way within his segment or his division. He owns that. And then whoever I assign to town down here, if we build that out, they own that as well. So what I did right away is I've got 2 Alpha 1 and what is this, Charlie 2, that go up the 2 sides of this little bit of bay, but they come in a little ways too. I think of looking back, if I'd have redone it and been a little more deliberate, I would have done those as a buffer, like one of you guys did. I think Dean, you did that. And run the buffer up along the water. Why? Water is one of the top 3 places that people with autism are found. Okay. And it's, for those who don't know, it's a sensory thing. That's why they're drawn to water. It has to do with it being a sensory, I said sensory deficiency, but autism is a sensory oriented issue. People with autism like to be totally surrounded in the water. If you ask them, they like to be up in the water up to their neck, because then they have the same sensation all across their body, which is why so many get drawn to water, because they're trying to feel that sensation. So anyway, I would have probably narrowed up these search segments along the shores and done those quick. If you look at the narrative, they went from the dining hall, which is where we have the command post, and on the PDF map, it shows a trail that walks along the lake, and it says they're heading the general direction of the director's lodge or cabin or whatever, which is up here, kind of in the middle of A1. So if I'm going to start searching, even if I don't have a direction last traveled, the plan was they were going east, right? Again, with people with autism, knowing what the plan was for the day is important, or what they were planning on doing, because people with autism are very oriented and want things, especially the further down the spectrum they are, the more they want things to be orderly. And if that's what the plan was, god dang it, they're going to go do the plan. So my search planning focused initially on basically the alpha, so 12 to 3 o'clock, and then the Bravo, so everything kind of heading east. I used roads and shorelines to divide areas up. See Alpha 1 here, 11 acres, Alpha 2, 23, and then this Bravo 3 is pretty big. It looks like, let me switch over to global imagery. It's actually more open than this shows. And I only know that because I've been there, right? It's one thing to do what we call it in the military, we call it a map recon. You can look at your satellite imagery, you see one thing, but when you get there, it could be different, right? Oh, they've been doing some logging. It's way more open. So resources can see further across it and get through it quicker, right? I use this roadblock. That's kind of, and the road that it's on is kind of a dividing point between Alpha 2 and Bravo 3, just because it's a good tie-in point when you've actually got people there. You can also refer to it as a drop point or a coordination point. I did one here on the south side of the road. It's a nice big rectangular one, follows the roads perfectly. And that worked out really well. And then this here in Charlie 1, this is the gigantic marshy area we were talking about a few minutes ago. So huge marsh right here, ball fields up on the corner, and then another marsh that we were looking at right there south of the staging area. Depending on how you zoom in, it's clearer. So that's what I came up with. I wasn't worried about too much on assigning types of resources. Some of you guys did that. That's awesome. Yes, everybody and their brother in Wisconsin has a quad. If they have one, they have two, because they have their new one and they have their old one. And if it's a family of 4, they probably have 4. So whoever said that earlier about quads running around up there, that's 100% northern Wisconsin. You know, I've got the structures turned on because that's really handy to see as we get closer to town over here. They have a zip code, but that's it. It's not an actual town. But you know, there's a lot of structures and stuff over here. Depending on the Tommy's history, you know, he's not from the area. He's only been here 3 days at camp. By the way, as you continue to interview, it's his first time at camp. Never been away before, and he's a city kid. I'm gonna go look in town, right? So as the scenario continues, now we're gonna talk a little bit about, hey, the sheriff calls up and he wants to know what's going on and he wants to see our map, right? So this is one of those really awesome export things. So I've got this map, I got all my stuff here, and the sheriff wants to see it, but sheriff is 45 minutes south in a different town. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here to export and get this big pop-up again. Over here in the upper right, see where it says KML network link for Google Earth? This is one of the coolest features. I'm gonna click this, and it's gonna automatically start saving a file. And I'm gonna say Manito-ish for sheriff. Save. All right. Now I am going to take this file, and I believe I can drop it into chat for you guys. Here we go. So if you've got Google Earth on your phone, on your device, you should be able to open that, and in Google Earth, you're going to see everything on my map. All right, so I'm gonna hit cancel back over here because I already did export. I will open it as well on my screen.
So Micah, that's what the KML is. It's specifically Google Earth.
It is a it started out KML, it's key markup language, KML and KMZ, primarily Google Earth file formats, although they're getting to be used for a lot of things in professional GIS work. In fact, I'll show you that here in a couple minutes. So if you opened that up, depending on how much stuff you have in your Google Earth, I got a lot, you should get in your temporary places folder a folder called Manito-ish scenario. And so if you double click on that, it's going to zoom in and it's going to show all the same stuff that was in my SAR Topo map. What the great thing about this is, if they click on this, they can do whatever they want, and it doesn't jack up your map. But as you add, so let me add over here. I'm going to go back to my actual map. I'm going to add a new search segment. So I'm going to go add area assignment.
So SAR Topo and Google Earth must have an agreement then.
Well, it's all about data, and it's all about how data flows across the internet. So I just made this new search segment. I'm going to number that Charlie 3, and conceivably in a minute or two, because there is a little bit of lag. That should show up. Oh, look, it's already shown up on mine. Did you have, for those that opened it up on Google Earth, you have a new search segment that is north west of the staging area? It's showing on mine, but I got on the same computer. What it does is as you make changes and add things, so I'll add a new marker as well. You know what? I'm going to call it yeah, I'll just add a marker. I'm going to make it a green pennant, or nope, that doesn't show up very good on there. Let's make it whatever that symbol is. There we go. So I just added in the top left corner of my search areas a blue X, and boom, it just now populated on my Google Earth. So what's going on is our SAR Topo is on servers, right? Connected to the internet. So is Google Earth. All it's doing is taking a data feed from our SAR Topo server and reading it straight into Google Earth. So anything we do in one populates in the other. So this is a great way for somebody to follow what's going on and not meddle in your map or be standing over your shoulder. Now, yeah, you could send them a link to just view the map, but people kind of like Google Earth because of how you can fly around and do stuff. It's just handy, right? So really good way if you need to keep your local law enforcement, EMA, whoever, maybe the YMCA camp has a regional director in Chicago and needs to know what's going on.
Hey,
You
Micah,
can send this link and they can take a look. Yeah, go ahead.
is Google Earth an app on phones?
Yes.
It's an app. Okay.
Yep. So you can.
Because I've got
tap on the
Google
phone.
Maps on my phone. That's different than
That's
Google
different.
Earth, right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So I have Google Earth Pro on my computer.
Yeah,
Pro you actually have to install. There is a Google Earth that is web-based. I think it still works for that the same way. Either
Micah,
way. Yes, go ahead.
So when I clicked on your link, it had me save it to a file on my computer.
Okay.
And then
Now-
do I open Google Earth
No,
Pro?
Just double click that file and it should open into Google Earth.
I
It's
couldn't
like,
get it.
There it goes.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it to open either.
okay,
That's what I did wrong.
that's fine. No worries.
You have to double click.
Yeah, so you download the file and then open the file.
Got it. Okay, I see it now.
All right, so let me go into my SAR Topo. I'm going to add, let me add a clue out here in the middle of B3. Somebody, oh, you know what? I got some canine data. Sheriff's Department's got them a canine. They got them a bloodhound. And somebody, when they got them the bloodhound, they got one of them Garmin collars. I'm pretty proud of that. So they came over and they gave me this file to import, they said. So I'm gonna go to import, choose files. All right, let me see where's I put it. Oh, watch, now oh, nope, that's not it. Oh, I hope I didn't lose my file to show you guys because it's so cool. What I did was I made a track. Oh no, where is it? Ah, yeah, such a good job working on that. Now I lost it. Oh, dang it. Oh, well. What I had was I made, just to demonstrate the import of the GPX file, which kind of like we did earlier, but county sheriff guys, they ended up running around out here with their dog, and god dang, they found a clue right here. So I'm gonna go add object. It's a clue. It is a shoe. And
I think you do have to download the Google Earth Pro onto your computer.
okay.
Okay.
So anyway, so that shoe just popped up. So those who have been able to follow the link and you're looking in Google Earth should have right in the back side of that barn an icon with a question mark that says shoe. And that's just an example of the data crossing from one place to another. So as our search conceivably continues, Wisconsin, and I know this, has all hazard incident management teams. So the sheriff calls his buddy, who calls his buddy, and lo and behold, IMT shows up. Okay. IMT in the planning section has a GIS person. Well, they look at this and they're like, posh, I need to run this in my GIS program. No problem. Same thing. I'm going to go to export and I'm going to go to KML on the dropdown. I'm not going to send them the network link, but I'm going to send them an actual file. So KML here, I'm going to give them all the data. Hit export. It's thinking.
Mouse freezing up.
Yeah,
For Micah.
Micah's freezing up.
Okay.
You're freezing up, Micah.
Yeah, I probably got too many things running at once, or my son is using all the internet in the house. Stand by. I'm going to turn off my Google Earth. There you go. That should get better. So what I'm doing is, let me back up a little bit. So I'm going to export all of this stuff in a KML file. That's the file format that Google Earth likes, but it's also now being used a lot for professional level GIS work. So I'm going to hit export on this format. I'm going to change it to Google Earth. I'm going to make sure everything that I made is checked. I'm going to export and it's going to download a file. And I'm going to save it in my folder. I already did this once to practice. And then let me do this. Let me change up what I'm sharing here. And because I'm a GIS nerd and it's part of my day job, I have ArcGIS Pro on my computer. So let me open that up. And we're gonna just show you how what we're doing here can be down the road as an incident grows, can be transferred to the real GIS folks who can do whatever they want with it. All right, so let me screen share. And where is it? Ooh, there we go. All right, so this is ArcGIS Pro. And I already made just a little base map for us to work off of. So I'm gonna open that. ArcGIS Pro has been around for maybe 4 or 5 years now. It's slowly becoming the go-to because it is way easier to use than its predecessor. All right. Super easy what we're about to do. It says add data. I'm going to click add data. It's going to give me a pop-up. All right. As soon as it populates here a little bit, I'm going to go to my folder where I just saved that file. Oh, look, there it is. What do you know? I've already been there once. I just saved it at 7:05. I'm going to open that. And now what's going to happen is in this professional level GIS program, it's all my same stuff. All right. So as an IMT takes over and they've got the real GIS nerds, they can have that same data that we started in SAR Topo and they can pick it up and run with it. So that's one of the great things about SAR Topo is while it is, down and dirty GIS, it is still actual GIS and we can export it to a GIS professional who can then, make it do whatever they want, make map books, export stuff. You can export from here back over. So it can be put into SAR Topo, the app. We can do whatever, do forensic analysis stuff, do terrain analysis, all kinds of gee whiz bang stuff. But this is one, like I said, this is the great thing about SAR Topo is we're able to take it from here, drop it over there and keep working, or just share it for others to see. So, Cliff, looking at the EM world, I'm trying to get my county guys to jump on the subscription with us and buy in, because think, you got some flooding, you got a hazmat, you need to throw some stuff on a map and get it out to the world in 10 seconds or less, boom, you can export it as a JPEG, a PDF, you know, share it, email it, you know, even departments like some of the small volunteer departments in the county, they're going to have, you know, it's the Labor Day parade and they got some roadblocks, make the map, share it. When I was learning to use SAR Topo, the gigantic subdivision I live in was having a, I think it was on Labor Day, the giant subdivision wide yard sale. I made a PDF map of all the locations and shared it. It's so easy to do, you know?
Hey, Micah,
Yes.
when you import some map stuff onto your SAR Topo map, right? Does
Yep.
that show up on the left like as an item that you can turn on and off?
Yes, it does.
Because say you import a whole bunch of stuff and it junks up your map and you got all this stuff on there you didn't plan on.
Yep.
Can you turn it off and
Yeah.
back on? Okay.
Yep. So check this out. So let me share that again. Let me share my master map here. So you notice each folder has a check mark. So I can turn off an entire folder, or maybe here, like here in assignments, maybe I want to turn off everything that's in the Charlie and Delta, and I just want to leave my Alpha and Bravo divisions on. So hit the checkbox just like that. Under the, it's not under this display setting, it's under settings up here. Nope, that's not it. They moved it again. I forget exactly where it is. This is going to bother me now. There's a place where you can decide if you want to make it so you can have these individual checkboxes for each layer, or just turn off folders. One thing is, I continue to grow and build assignments. I could, instead of having one assignment folder, I could have each of my divisions has its own folder. And then everything in Alpha goes into a folder, Bravo, same. So you can keep your map decluttered.
Yeah, I know how to turn off assignments and lines and markers, but I'm saying if you import from another map and you've got all these other trails on there, and say you forget to take off, you know, there was like 200 check marks on there, and say you import all this stuff on your map, can you undo it? Can you hide
so
it?
that's this bulk ops thing. Let me,
If you import a map, can't you just uncheck it? Doesn't your imported map go on the right side?
well, it depends on what
Under
you're talking,
maps?
when you're saying a map. If like earlier when I imported trails and I had like 300 or 400 things on there, if I accidentally imported all of that stuff, but I only wanted a small portion of it, all of that is a map object. It's going to show up on the left-hand side of the screen. Any particular folder, if you go into this bulk ops, you click on that at the bottom of the folder, that will let you say,
Okay.
nuke out half of what you brought in. So if I accidentally brought in somebody's tracks from when they were at training last weekend, okay, and I see it on here, I'm like, oh, I don't need that. That has nothing to do with this. You can go into this bulk ops and you can select things. In this case, I'm going to hit click, control, and then each individual thing. And I could, if I wanted, delete object, and then it's gone.
Okay,
case,
so
I'll hit
delete and
cancel.
bulk ops. I got it. Yeah.
Yep.
And
So
then
if you
isn't there
accidentally
that
import-
visible,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jen.
isn't there that on the right-hand side of what you just brought up under bulk ops, where you can see it or you can take it off? So,
Yeah, so let me go back to my assignments folder, bulk ops in my folder.
right
Oh,
there.
visible over here. Yeah. I think that's actually might be a newer thing. Let's see, let's take a look. So I'm gonna hit change attributes for that. Oh, what that is, that visible column is whether or not I have it checked on or off in the assignments actual folder. Because right now it's showing my Alpha and Bravo stuff is visible. That's because I turned off the Charlie and Delta. So if I over here, I turn on these, yeah. And now I go to bulk ops. Now it only shows the one thing is not visible. So that's
Okay.
going to be what that column is. nuts. There's, let me check my notes here. Import, export, Google Feed, KML. Oh,
Michael, Micah, can you address offline maps? Can
yeah.
we actually use offline maps on SAR Topo, or do we have to use a vendor?
Yes, you can. So doing, let me close this a little bit and we'll talk about offline. Let's see. Am I still screen sharing with you guys? Yep, looks like it. So offline does require a pro account of sorts. And I don't remember if you can do it with the free pro account. I'm working off of my paid account that my team has. But what you end up doing, and there is in the help, remember to get to the help. It's over here on the left, click it. There's a how-to in here that tells you exactly how to do what I'm going to show you in 2 minutes or less. Under my data, which is my tab of everything, you'll see one of my tabs here is desktop access. So I'm going to click on that. And this is available because I'm in my pro account. And this is the, hey, you want to work offline? Here's the stuff you got to do. And it's really slick. And what you end up doing is kind of installing two sets of things. One is a file that kind of, when you open it, makes the computer or makes your browser think that it's online. The other stuff that you download is a piece of SAR Topo and then all the data for whatever area you want. And it squirrels that away on your hard drive. Not all of the data available when you're online is available for download. And that has to do with licensing agreements and stuff. But like what we're looking at here on this screen, this map, the hybrid, that's totally available. None of the Google stuff is. Some of the like property layers, I believe that is. It changes on a regular basis because SAR Topo is always working to improve the program. But what ends up happening is you get two icons on your computer. And if I'd have thought about it, my management computer, I could have had that fired up and logged in on that one because I have it on that. It's a tough book running Windows 10, nothing fancy. It's got Office, SAR Topo, and that's about it. It doesn't have a whole lot of memory. It's only got like 40 gigs of memory and barely 120 gigs of hard drive space. But what the SAR Topo software does is it's kind of like a partition, if you're familiar with that term. It makes a place in your hard drive where it dumps itself and it dumps all your map data. And so I have it set up on my computers. It's a two-step process. And literally I named the icons, click this one, and then two, click this. And what it does is it opens a small program that allows your browser to, instead of looking at the internet for SAR Topo data, it allows it to look at that small space on the hard drive. So you have the same exact interface as we're looking at here. All of your buttons are the same. The thing that looks different is instead of being at sartopo.com, it uses computer speak for the location on your hard drive. Basically, it's turning a small portion of your hard drive into a little bitty SAR Topo server. Now, if you're all geeked out and you have a full server available to you in your command truck or that semi that you guys have down there, Cliff, you know, you can run SAR Topo off of the server, and then all the computers that attach to that server can also attach to that SAR Topo instance running on the computer.
So then when we save this, if we're working offline, do we have to save it a certain way so that it goes back into?
Yeah, there's a process that allows you to sync your stuff up so it goes back up to the SAR Topo servers in the cloud once you get access to regular internet. Yeah. Yeah. We've been very fortunate. I've never really had to do it yet. But it's there. It is a definite tool for working offline, working remote, working like you and I were talking the other day, those areas where all the internet is gone. There is no Wi-Fi. There's no Verizon. There's no AT&T FirstNet. There's nothing. You can still use it in the same manner without having to use a different program. you know, without having to use Garmin or something, their program that maybe you're not used to. And that's the great thing is just one program, whether you're online or offline, it's all the same stuff. So you're able to make your maps. If you're hardwired into your printer, you can print your maps, you know, just like here. I'll click on Charlie 1. I'm going to go here, print map. It does the same exact thing when you're offline, and it will just print it right there and give it to same format and everything. And you can get that to whoever needs it. You know, you do lose the ability to have people tracking on their app if you're 100% offline. But if you're offline, it's probably because there's no cell service anyway. So what's the point? That's when we're really going to look at loading into a GPS and then giving them their GPS back, making sure that what we gave them as a search segment, they have in paper as well as digital, and then telling them go on the way, you know, so. All right. So it's about 7:20. So let's take a good solid 10 minutes here. And we'll come back. We'll see if there's any other questions about this. And then I would like to show you guys the NIMS IAP. In the MLPI course, you will be producing incident action plans. And this NIMS IAP is a great way to do that. Work in it, just like multiple people can work in our map here, multiple people can work in that. So we'll orient to that a little bit and answer any questions there, and we should be good. So I got 7:19 Central Time, so be back here at 7:30. I'll give you an extra minute, 11 minutes. All right, see you in a few. There we go. So let me screen share again real quick and go back to my master map. And hey, what do you guys notice there? We've got us some airplanes. One of the things, I always forget about this, but Cliff mentioning your 50-foot command post trailer reminded me of this.
We actually use this.
Exactly. So, you know, if it's tracked, if it's got an, was it ABSD or whatever, if it's a tracked aircraft, you can add that on here. And I like playing with SAR Topo when I go on my wildfire assignments. And I use this as well as some other secret squirrel tools to track air tankers. But one of the neat things about this particular layer, it's over here on the right-hand side under map layers. Right now, I just have it on jets, so it's only showing stuff way up. I bet you. So let me scroll down to the big Chi-Town. Oh, yeah, look at that. You can see them all stacked up there at O'Hare. Helicopters. See if there's any helicopters. There's usually one or two flying around. Oh, not today or not tonight. But it's really cool because you can select between aircraft, all low flying helicopters, jets, no jets. And that's a really handy tool, you know, especially nowadays when we're talking about UAS or even just having aircraft, because that is a resource for us here in Northwest Indiana. We get helicopters at a Lake County Sheriff. They'll come fly our searches for us, you know, knowing where your stuff's at. It's an awesome tool. But what I wanted to show you specifically, let me switch tabs, is in the help documentation, which is phenomenal. And as a reminder, in fact, I'll close this tab, as a reminder on how to get to the help documentation. When you're in your map, it's up here in the top left, you can click help. Or if you hit SAR Topo and go back to their main screen, it's right there as well. You can go to help. And we're going to go to user guide and training site. They have really done a lot to populate this. And one of the things we're going to do is I'm going to scroll down here. Cal Topo desktop. And it is set up as a training thing. It's lessons. So this will tell you everything you need to know and how to go about downloading this to a computer for working offline. How to download your base layers, syncing between your computer, your online account, it's all right here. Great, great resource. All right. So with that, we will pop out of SAR Topo for a few minutes. I'm going to go over my friend Google. And we're going to open the NIMS IAP unedited. So anybody who's been around the ICS IMT world for a while knows what an IAP is. That's kind of one of the reasons that I like to have people take ICS 300 before the MLPI class, because if we have to teach ICS in the class, it slows things down a little bit, but that's okay. The FEMA ICS class is really about making IAPs to coordinate incidents. And all we're doing in MLPI is it's an incident. It just happened to be a SAR incident. The NIMS IAP is an online tool. It is one of several. The Texas IMT IAP tool is also available, as well as some commercial ones. But this is an online Google-based tool. It uses Google Sheets that lets multiple people work the IAP at once. Now, if you've ever been part of a team putting out IAPs every 24 hours or more often than that, one of the most important jobs out there is in the planning section. And it is that poor SOB who has to take in all the copies, make sure that each page got everything on it, it's signed, it's got the right dates, puts it into the stack to go give to the copy person who produces 50 copies of a 50-page document every day. All right. What this does is it makes it so instead of having to produce your copy and email it with your signatures or whatever, you're all working in the same document. There is a website. It is nimsiap.org. It is handily right here on the screen for you. I'll click it. It'll open in a new tab. It has a help file. That's what's going to open. But if you're used to working in spreadsheets even a little bit, you should be okay here. The NIMS IAP help file is a Word document. Pretty handy to have it up at the same time if need be. But the way this is set up is we have all these tabs across the bottom. All right. Starts with the first one that says read me. Okay. And it tells you how to make your own copy of this for you, which I have already done for you. One of the things that you're going to get, and you're going to get it before the first day of class, is each group, and we're breaking you into what we're calling incident support teams, not an incident management team, because you're going to be everything but the incident commander. So it's an incident support team. So you're going to fill the role of plans, ops, logistics, and safety. Okay, because each group will have at least 4 people in it. So I'm going to give each group, and it's red, white, and blue ISTs. You will get a link to a folder specific for your IST, which already has a copy of this inside of it. And this is all in Google Drive. Okay. So if you don't have a Google account, don't flip out. If you have an Android phone, you already have a Google account. You just don't know it. We can work through that if necessary on that first day. Because the first day you won't be in this as much. So we can work out any independent tech issues there. But it starts across the bottom, 101, read me, how to make a copy. Description of the forms, just in case you don't remember what the form names are or what they're used for. And then we have 101 general info. Here's the great thing about this. As you populate this page, if you've ever noticed ICS forms for an IAP, have a lot of the same cells on them. Name, incident name, operational period, financial codes. When you populate this first tab, it carries all this information as appropriate all the way through the rest of the document. So it's the no name incident. I'm going to make it today, if I can get there. What day is today? March, February. There we go. I'm going to make it today at 2100. Incident number is SR 21-0007, no 4. P code in wildland terms, that's a cost code. We're using operational periods. You can also have day shift and night shift. We do that a lot in wildland fire. If there's anything else you want, you can add here. What are your shifts? Well, 7A to 7P. All right. If we want to show the day of the week on the IAP cover, we click the little box. All right. If you have a specific logo you want to put, it'll bring that in from the internet. And what happens, you continue to fill this stuff out. Okay. Signature. So who is the incident commander? So anywhere that there's a box that says the incident commander's name, it automatically populates it. Anywhere that you need the planning section chief or whoever's name, it automatically populates it. Also, when you do the location, so I will do Valparaiso, Indiana, it automatically updated. Oh, that's not right. Oop, needs permission to run. When you go to use this the first time, it does ask for some permissions because it does some online and offline stuff. So let me run through that real quick. It's running a script right now.
Looks like you're at Fairfax.
Yeah, no, it should be populating Valpo, but it didn't. That's okay. If I know the lat long, I can, oh, there it goes. It took it 10 seconds. So it populated my location, which is awesome because then that auto populates sunrise, sunset, and all this other data that shows up on the pages further in. Kind of cool. Cover, no name incident. Okay, Tuesday, the operational periods. Then as you go through and fill this out, it keeps populating your form. And you can have somebody working on this page right here, all right, working on 203s and 204s. And at the same time, whoops, somebody else can be further down and they're working on filling out the medical plan. And this is great for pre-planning because one of the things you can do, so I'm a medical unit leader. It's one of the things I do on wildfires. So I own this document. But if say I'm going to use this for pre-planning stuff here in Indiana District 1, I can put all my Indiana District 1 hospitals in here. So all I have to do is click the ones I want, click the add to 206 button. Then when I go back to my 206 medical plan, in a second, once the script is running, it auto-populates. So for those of us that are really ICS nerds and IMT nerds, this can be a real time saver. But again, I can be working on this at the same time the comms unit leader is plugging in channels. Safety is working on their 215 or their 215A. And there's actually, when you get further down, there's weather stuff, estimates. So like, you know, how many pages of IAP are we going to have? Right now it's at 10th. Or how many are you going to need printed? There's some T-card stuff in here, some virtual T-card stuff, but it also sets it up to print. It exports just the pages you want to a one PDF file, and then that's your IAP. Great tool. And one of the reasons that we're going to use this tool is for Plan B. Okay. Anybody here in Indiana or anywhere in the Midwest knows right now we've been getting some storms. If one of our course sessions is to the point where people cannot travel due to snow, we can do everything right here, folks. We can work on the same SAR Topo map at the same time. Obviously, we can present slides via Zoom and do lectures and discussion by Zoom and Zoom rooms. And if necessary, we can be in the NIMS IAP working on it remotely too. So if something happens and we're not all able to be at the MAC training center at the same time due to weather or whatever, we can still work remote and get our stuff done, which is awesome. In fact, there is a class going on just about the same time as ours. There's somebody doing an MLPI 100% online. I'm not comfortable enough with this material yet to do that. I'd really rather see your smiling faces so we can all caffeinate together. There we go. And be in the same room because I think there's something to be said for that. But that is our plan B in case we do get weather or something happens on those weekends that we have class. Because we're using the NIMS IAP and SAR Topo and my friend Zoom here, we can move to an online platform if necessary. So between now and then, I highly recommend you get in there and Google around with that NIMS IAP thing. Okay. You have got all of the basic skills now that you're going to need for SAR Topo. All right. That exercise that we did is a smaller version of the big exercise, the 4 multi-day exercise that we're using for class, except for in class, you're going to be producing IAPs and doing briefings. Okay. Everybody remembers the planning P from the ICS 300 and 400 classes. We're running around that racetrack multiple times. In fact, I'm even going to introduce you to something called the SAR planning P. This is, I'll send this out as an article. It is from the Journal of Search and Rescue, which is an international research journal. And this particular article was produced 2 years ago. And it takes the standard ICS planning P as we know it, and it adds in some SAR stuff. It's not quite where I think it would be. If I were to write that article, I'd have wrote it maybe a little different, had a few different things in the planning P. But the intent here, I'm going to give you this as some pre-work, is to kind of start thinking about how we're applying incident management, the incident command principles to managing a SAR incident. As we've advertised this MLPI class that you guys are participating in, I've told folks on my team, my IMT up here in District 1, District 2, I've said, hey, look, this is an incident management class in the SAR context. That's all this is. All right. And we're just digging deep in the SAR stuff. All right. So if anybody happens to have a task book that needs stuff, bring it. We'll work that out. Especially you Indiana folks, I can sign books. So, you know, it's a great opportunity to exercise the ICS principles, incident command, IAPs, all that jazz in a safe environment using SAR stuff. So you will be doing some briefings. We'll talk about that. That'll be part of the classroom lecture. You know, I have some really good examples of planning meeting briefs or planning meetings, because you will conduct a planning meeting. You will conduct operational briefings, because those are important. You know, we all have in ICS, we have the responsibility to brief others and be briefed ourselves as needed. So we'll talk about that and we'll actually do some of that. Okay. So everybody's going to get a chance to stand up in front of the rest of the class and talk and maybe get recorded, set up the GoPro or whatever. And we'll do that and we'll have a great opportunity to learn. So you guys know, right now we're at 13 students. So the red and blue IST each have 4, the white has a 5th person in it. We had 2 more people from Michigan, but they had to pull out. They had a prior training requirement from their agency that couldn't escape. I think they're both law enforcement folks. So you know how those guys get. They got to go to what they got to go to. It's understandable. But I think we're set. I am very much looking forward to you guys being in class. Did have a couple of questions earlier. Somebody was asking about the books. Okay. This book that we use, it's a book was written by NASAR and ERI, Emergency Response International, which is out of, I believe, Washington or Oregon. The book can be used for NASAR's course as well as ERI's course. There are some things that you'll be like, why do I need this book? We didn't even look at it. There will be other things where in between the first weekend and the second weekend, you're probably going to want to do a deep dive and read these chapters. Okay. If you don't buy the book, it's not going to break my heart. I went through when I took this class and I highlighted a bunch of stuff in it. I hate to have people buy a book that they bring and then they're like, why did I buy the book? I remember doing that in college. Why do I need this textbook? There is value in it, but if you don't happen to have it, it's not the end of the world. You got a couple people from the same team and you just want to buy one and share, that's fine too. Okay. But I will let you know that as we've assigned people to ISTs, if there are 2 of you from the same agency, we have split you up. If there are 2 of you with similar experience and qualifications, we've split you up because we're trying to make each IST as similar as possible with background and experience so that we all get the same learning experience and we're not stacking the deck. So does anybody have any questions? We've gone almost 2 hours. Jan. Hit me.
Okay, if we were to go back onto the assignments, filling out the 104.
Yep.
Where do we go to put absolutely everything in it, like team members' names and things like that? I know that when you click on it, it pops up
Oh,
when you
want
do the
104, you
assignment.
want a SAR Topo?
Yeah,
Okay. Let me do a screen share here and let's
but it's, I don't know if we have to go to another spot to fill in the rest of the
Kind of.
information.
kind of. All right. So let me get into the right screen. Let's go here.
Because we talked about being able to print the map and putting the 104 on the back with the team members' names and,
Yep. So here is my map, Alpha 1. I'm gonna click on print SAR 104. Now, when I filled out the attributes, when I built that search assignment, I didn't fill in any extra stuff. So the only thing it brought over is the incident name and the assignment number. It's search area 1 in division Alpha. Okay. It didn't populate anything else except for automatic.
Micah, we are not seeing your SAR topo if that's what you're trying to show us right now.
You should be looking at a Word document.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Because when you're in SAR Topo and you click on the search segment, you get the pop-up. So I want to go, I'm looking at Alpha 2 here. I'm going to print SAR 104. It opens a new tab and it's a PDF. Okay. Now, if I want to put in names and stuff on this PDF over here on the right where it says open in Acrobat, I've got to actually open this file in Adobe. So what should happen?
we're not, something's not working, I don't think. I'm not even seeing like your cursor or where you're moving anything.
We
Well,
see
we
the
see
red, white, and blue teams.
Yeah, and we're on the MLPI.
Whoa. Hold on. My screen sharing is jacked up. Let me stop share. Let me do it. Restart it. What happens when you got too many screens and tabs open? All right. So I'm going to go to this one. All right. You see a 104? It says team assignment.
Yes.
All right, cool. So this is what I got when I clicked on a search segment and said print 104. It gives me this. It's a PDF document. If I want to continue to fill these in, what I got to do is actually download it. So I'm going to download it. It just says 104. Now, every time I download this, it's going to be 104. In this case, this is the 104 for my search segment Alpha 2. So I'm going to change the name to Alpha 2. Hit save. All right. And then, whoops, come on. I'll have to stop share and reshare again here, because now what I've done is I've downloaded that file and I've opened it in Adobe. Okay. This is a fillable file. See where there's the funny purple color? I can put.
Micah, I'm sorry, can you start all over from SAR topo and how did you get to all these forms, please?
So
Thank you.
one thing to note, okay. This 204 is specific to SAR Topo. This is not linked to the NIMS IAP program. These are two completely separate things. So does that mean you might have some duplication? Yes, but you can work through that as we go. You don't necessarily have to make the 204s or the 104s out of SAR Topo. So I'm looking at my segments here. I have this segment Alpha 2. Okay. I'm going to single click on that and I get a pop-up.
All right,
Now,
we're not looking at your SAR topo with your segments right now, so I don't know where you're
I'm
clicking.
going to start saying
Sorry.
4-letter words. I'll
I'm
pause my
sorry.
recording before I do that.
Topo is a 4-letter word.
It is. All right. Here we go. All right.
Thank you, thank you.
So there's SAR Topo. I have left clicked on Alpha 2. in that polygon. Now I get this. Now I've got two polygons stacked on top of each other. The first one is my division, alpha. The next one is alpha 2. That is a specific search segment that I made by adding a search segment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click SAR 104. Okay. It just opened a new tab automatically with any of the attributes from that search segment automatically populating this PDF.
That's awesome.
Now, from here, I can add some stuff, okay, and then download it. So I hit this download button over here in the upper right, okay, with or without my changes. Well, I just added some changes. I typed into it, right? So I want that. So I'm going to click with change. It's going to ask me how to save it. Yes, I'm writing over top of a file I've already got. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I've got to go to that file wherever it was at. So let me stop sharing this. And I saved that PDF file, right? So I've got to open it in a program that does PDFs like Adobe. So I'm going to open Adobe. Let me close something here and then let me screen share it with you. So if you've got either the free Adobe Reader or you're a super nerd like me and you have the full Adobe Pro, either one, if the form is designed as a fillable form and it's got cells that are meant to be typed in, you can type in it. So I open up this Alpha 2, it's right there because I already opened it once. I know where it's at. Double click, just like opening any form, and boom, there it is. There's the stuff that I typed in it before I even downloaded it. It's got the incident name, the assignment number. Okay, good to go. There's whatever I want. It's just as it was, and I can, here in the Adobe program, continue to type in any of these cells. Okay, and then save it. If the form, and these are because this is how it was designed, since it was designed to come off the system as a fillable form, even if you don't have the full Adobe Pro, you can type stuff in these cells and save it as whatever you want. Okay. Click on the save button, good to go. So that is something that if I were you, I would play with a little bit on some of your own maps. So go back to that homework that you all made, go to one of your search segments, as long as it is one of the SAR specific ones. Because remember, you can draw polygons on here, but really what we want to be working with is search assignments, which is a polygon with more attributes behind it, right? So that when it pops up, you can type in all this other stuff, frequencies and times and all that jazz, because that's what populates that 104. So I would play with those, see what it looks like when it comes out. Okay. I can tell you, you're going to generate some 104s, but one of the biggest things you guys are going to be doing is just some resource management stuff. Like, who have you got and where are they going? T cards are your friend.
That's where I was thinking. And on the SAR 104s, I was thinking it would have been nice if SAR Topo would have, within the attributes, had a place for team members.
Yeah.
So you could very quickly pull up your map, have the attributes of the names of the team members printed on the back, hand it out, so that everybody knows which team they're with. You know, because we've had searches before where people were assigned to teams and nobody gets their names and then nobody knows where they're supposed to go.
Right. And depending on how a search happens, if it's more deliberative or you're in the initial phases, it might be you're writing all the names down, taking a snapshot or scanning that for your own file, and then it goes out. One of the things that I've seen, and I think it was the Alpena County, Michigan folks, so I had several of them, Alpena and Midland, Michigan, were down here for the last class. They had a 104 that, I think it was them. They had a 104 that was carbon copy. So there was 3 of them. So you had your original, you had a tear out, you gave to the team leader. So they had everything as well, definitely some benefit to that. And that is the one thing that as you're using this NIMS IAP, if you're using the 104s out of there, it's not the same. Okay, that is a generic 104. Okay, which in ICS terms is a division assignment sheet. All right. The SAR world uses the 104 a little bit different. We oftentimes generate a 104 for every search segment. Okay, what if that search segment only takes an hour? I'm going to generate a lot of 104s. The same 5 people might be on 6 different 104s throughout the day. So, there's some ways to kind of balance that. I'm trying to get a couple other examples of that that are T-card based, again, carbon copied. Going to try to have some of that stuff for you guys when you get to class here and at the MAC in a couple of weeks, but we'll talk through it. There's a lot of different ways to skin that cat, whether it's completed 104s with everything on it, or the 104 is more generic to the piece of ground and less generic to the people searching the piece of ground. You can have a 104 all pre-made. You can have, for those of us that are fire-based, you understand passports, you can have your little tag of, here's my 5 dudes. Maybe it's on a note card. Take the note card, put it with the 104, paper clip it, drop it in your in progress stack. Now you know who's out there, right? And maybe that 3x5 card, which is really basically a fancy T card with those 5 people on it, when they come back from that search assignment, you can take them off of that one and you can pin them to the next one if they go back out later. So that is that, and I'll be honest, that's one thing in SAR incident management, SAR management stuff that's always bothered me, is we always tie the people and the 104 together, and it's like they're stuck there. But in reality, those people might do multiple, especially if they're smaller, multiple search segments in a day. So it's kind of weird if they're on multiple 204s. So, or 104s, I'm sorry. 204 is the doctrinal ICS form number. So again, SAR and their funny numbers. So, but again, nobody does SAR the same way in 2 different places. And just like that, you know what 2 K9 handlers can agree on? That the third one's doing it wrong. But all right, guys, it is 8 o'clock. We've been going for 2 hours. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to hit me up. If you're playing with SAR Topo and you're like, hey, I don't remember how we do this, hit me up. I will get this video up on YouTube and I will send the link out to everybody tomorrow, and we can go from there. If you have any questions or anything, or you're like, I don't know about this, or something comes up, you're not sure about class, give me a call, shoot me an email, and we'll work it out. All righty.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will be sharing both the videos on our Indiana Search and Rescue Talk training Facebook page for those people as well, and maybe do another one for anybody else in Indiana. But if you got any questions, let me know, and I will see y'all in a couple weeks.
Okay. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Micah.
Thanks,
Micah,
guys.
Micah, thank you.
All right.
Can you,
Have a
can
good
you
night.
put me on your email list, Micah?
Who's that?
Tim Lambert. I'm
Yes.
Chicago CERT.
Yes. Drop your email in the.
Actually, I've got yours. I'm going to send you one right now.
There you go.
All
Hey,
right.
Micah, if you want to stop recording, I'd try to show you something if you got time.
Yes.